We will talk about the journey of SAP. So how SAP has started, what kind of important version they have introduced in the market, which has increased the market share of SAP in the ERP market. So first is going to be first version which SAP has introduced, or the software which SAP has introduced in the year 1972, and that was the R1 version. So this version is also known as RF version. So in this RF, what is the full form of this RF version? This is called the real-time financial system. So from the name, it is clear that it depends, it has focused all the finance activities, and it was created as a financial accounting software or financial accounting system. So it was designed to provide a centralized system for the business. So in this RF, what they have done, so RF was the first SAP product and that has supported the business processes, particularly financial business processes. Then RF also made the basis for the further software parts called module. Like we have the SD, inventory, HR. So those module came later. First, finance, they have started with finance only. The year 1979, they have come up with their next version of SAP software called R2. So in this R2, what they have done, so they have redesigned their applications, they have revised their technologies within the software database, and they have expanded also the SAP capability. So how they have expanded, so now they have also included inventory, sales in this R2 system. Then we have the R3 system, R3 version. So this was a game changer for the SAP. How it was different from the previous version of from its competition. So in the year 1992, SAP AG presented the first application of a SAP R3 system, and R3 was very significant shift we have. This was a paradigm shift by introducing a client server architecture. So what is that client server architecture? We'll also discuss about it. Then after that, is also this version is also supporting multiple platforms. So how it is different? So here, first of all, in this R3, we have R means a real time, and 3 we have the 3 layers of data. So we'll have the three layers of data where we'll be maintaining this business data. So first is going to be the presentation layer. Data will be in the presentation layer. Second, we'll be having the data in the application layer, and third, we'll be having the data in the database layer. Storage, we can call it as a storage data. So here, this first layer, which we call it as a presentation layer, this is going to be for the end user, for the business user. So they would be carrying out their day-to-day business activity on this presentation layer. And this layer, we also call it as a SAP GUI. SAP GUI stand for Graphical User Interface. So this is going to be the interface which user will be working on. So on this application layer, the we'll be having the programs, application system on this layer. And the last is going to be the database layer. So in this database layer, we'll be having the information. So in this, what we have, so we have the various PCs which are connected with the server, and one or more server access the database, and that database which we can install on a separate machine. So we can have a separate machine for the database. So that is going to be the storage database. So it can be installed on a separate system which may be different from the application system. So that is the landscape. That is the, I would say, version which SAP has come up with, and they have made these changes. So this was the first time they have come with this kind of architecture. So it is saying that why this SAP was a big success. Hardware required by the client, so that was more efficient, less expensive. So it was a cost effective. Then the greater number of user can work on the same system. So let's take an example of this presentation layer. So if let's say there are 100 users working on this presentation layer, so if and they are working on their PC, so the PC of one of the user got failed or it got crashed, so it is not going to give the impact on the working of rest of the PCs. Why? Because the data we have in a presentation layer. Then it is saying that the application are broken down into the various modules we have called finance, inventory, sales. So particularly when we think about the ERP, so this is the enterprise resource planning, and we think about the ERP software. So the main module we have in the mind. So these are going to be the accounting. Within the accounting, we have the finance and controlling, and we also have the logistics. So when we think about the logistics, we have the sales and distribution, material management, production. Then we also have the HR, and we SAP has also extended the operation in, and those operations, business operation can be performed in these module called CRM, PLM, SCM, and SRM. So CRM means customer relationship management, PLM means product lifecycle management, SCM means supply chain management, and SRM means supplier relationship management. So what was the journey of SAP S/4HANA? So we have discussed about this R1, R2, R3. Okay, so these were the milestone years for the SAP, and in these year they have rolled out such product, such version into the business, and they have rolled out those version, and through these version, so SAP has, I would say, made itself a market leader in the ERP software. So one after this SAP R3, so this ERP was the extension of this R3. So this ERP they have come up with in the year 2004. This is called the business suite. In this business suite, they have provided multiple modules, and in these multiple modules, the particular requirement related to that module can be fulfilled. Then in the year 2015, they have come up with this new version of SAP called SAP S/4HANA, and this has come in the year 2015. So within the SAP S/4HANA, so this has evolved. This version has evolved a lot. So first they have come up in the year. So you can just see these are the version name. So we have 1511, 1610, 1709, 1809, 1909, 2020, 21. So this 1511 means what? So 15 means your year and 11 means the month. So we have the November 2015. But first time it came with 1503 version that is not available in this picture. So 1503 means so they have come up with their first version of SAP S/4HANA, and that was March 2015, 1503. Then after that, they have come up with their next version called 1511. Then year 2016, October, they just come up with this version called 1610. Then in year 2017, September, they came up with this version called 1709. Year 2018 September they came up with 1809. Year 2019 September they came up with 1909. And after this, because that was the last year where we were making a combination of month and year. And after this, 2020 has started. Now since then, they are not taking any reference of the month. So here we have the year only. So we have now the version called 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. So this is kind of a version SAP has brought or rolled out into the market. So what are the features we have of SAP S/4HANA? So first is this is going to this has been developed or this has been rolled out so that we can offer the next generation product. We can offer the new product to our business, to our clients. Then this is based on the HANA database. So before SAP has brought this in the year 2015, this SAP S/4HANA, so they have first worked on their database, and they have come up with their own database called SAP HANA database in the year 2010. In the year 2010, because prior to that, they were using a third-party database, and on that, they mounted their ERP, and that is how they were working. But SAP realized that if they need to offer the new solution, the new, I would say, next generation product, if they need to deliver to their client, and that product may be the automation, maybe the Gen AI, maybe the clouds. and a cloud deployment option. So for that, they need to create their own database, and they need to create this database in such a way so that these new product features can, or these can be aligned to these new technological changes we have in the market. So that is a reason they have come up for the first time in the year 2010 with their own database called SAP HANA database. And after that, they have mounted their SAP S4 HANA application on this HANA database. So this SAP S4 HANA support HANA database. Then it is fully built on in-memory data platform. Remember, we have discussed about the R3 system where we have three layers of data. We have the presentation, application, and we have the database layer. Okay. Now SAP, because prior to this 2000, so this RAM was very, I would say, expensive. So that was not cost effective because of that hardware, I would say, changes we have in the market. So the rates for those hardware got down. We are able, or business would be able to purchase that RAM. So what they have leveraged, so they can now maintain their application data, application layer. They can made it on this RAM called in-memory data platform. We will have the presentation layer. From the presentation layer, if I need to pull the data, and that data lies in the database layer. So through the application layer, we'll be able to get that data in the presentation layer. Now, it is saying that that particular data, if you need as a user in the presentation layer, you don't need to refer to the database layer. So that information we will be able to drive it, we'll be able to take it from the application layer, because that data we have inbuilt. With the help of RAM, we can maintain the data in the application layer. And through this, we don't need to refer to the database layer, and the travel time has reduced. And because the travel time has reduced, so we'll be able to get the reports or required data quickly. So that is the reason, that is a feature. It is just showing you that here it is built on the in-memory data platform. Then it is more modern and simplified. So it is also giving the user, it is going to give the good user experience, and it can be optimized on all the devices. So this SAP ECC 6.0 was limited on the devices called laptop or desktop. Now this SAP S4 HANA application, we can also access on the multiple devices. This could be apart from your desktop laptop. It could be your iPad. It could be your iPhone through the web browser, and that web browser platform we can use as a Fiori. We will talk about this Fiori also. Then it is saying that this SAP S4 HANA has reduced the data footprint of your company by removing some unnecessary data or avoid that data redundancy. Then it is saying that the choice of deployment. So now with this SAP S4 HANA, client has the option to go for the on-premise or cloud or hybrid option. So what is the on-premise cloud? So we'll talk about it. So hybrid means when you are doing a mix of on-premise and cloud. So that is your hybrid. And what is the cloud option or on-premise option? We'll talk about this. So what are the solution now SAP S4 HANA has given to the business? So here we can expect the performance improvement with the new database called HANA database. We have the in-memory computing. So through that, we do need to refer to the database layer. So we have some set of data, we have some information, and that information we can pull out from the application layer. Then we have the columnar approach. Again, it is related to the data remodeling they have done in their HANA database, so that it should give the more productivity, more instant it should be. Then this when they have made this data remodeling, so they have not made any kind of decision, or they have not done any kind of data disruption. So they have not deleted any data, but what they have done, they have just compressed the data without any kind of data disruption. Then this is going to give the user experience, new user experience with the Fiori apps, which we can use it on the web browser. Then we can also do the easy reconciliation with the new data remodeling which SAP has done in their HANA database, and it is also simplify the business processes. So what are the clients of SAP S4 product or SAP S4 HANA version? So to whom we can think that okay, they are going to install, they are going to buy this SAP S4 HANA product, or they are going to buy this SAP S4 HANA software. So first, all those clients which are using, which run this SAP on their R3, so that could be the client of SAP S4. Then all those clients which are still on SAP ECC, so that can also be client of S4. Then all those clients which are using Business One. So Business One is a very, I would say, the basic one software which again related to the SAP, but it is for the small organization, and they have implemented this Business One. So those client can also go for this SAP S4 HANA version. Then all those organizations which are not using the, or the companies which are not using this SAP software as their ERP software, so they can also switch from their legacy software ERP software to the SAP software. So these could be the SAP S4 HANA clients. Then again, this it is saying that the SAP has declared a deadline that they would be supporting all these version R3 ECC by 2030. So after that, their client has to move to the, or they have to they have to move on to the SAP S4 HANA. So because after that, they are not going to support these clients who are on R3 or ECC. So here we will talk about the SAP S4 HANA deployment options. So what are the options we have? So first is very common. It is also rated, or we can also see it in the SAP ECC 6.0. This is going to be the on-premise option. So what is the on-premise option we have in the SAP S4? So under this HANA deployment option, so we can build a software within our company. So our IT team, our client IT team, they are, or this could be from the SAP. So what they are doing, they are building this software. So first of all, client is going to buy this license from the SAP, and SAP is going to give them a CD or a software which they can install in their server. So when they are building this server, and the server is going to be, this is going to be located in the client business. I would say this is going to be located where we have all these department, where we have all these functional areas. So we have HR, production, sales, finance. So here this software we can just see, this SAP software we can just see within the premises of the client. We can just see that okay, we have a server owner who is owning that SAP server, team, dedicated team who are working in that server, and the server is located within the premises of the business or within the premises of the client. Then we have the SAP S4 HANA cloud option, deployment option. Under the cloud deployment option, we have further couple of options. We have the private cloud and we have the public cloud. So here we have given the example for the private cloud. So on this private cloud, we have actually SAP has made a data center, and SAP asked their client that okay, now you don't need to build that SAP server, you don't need to own that SAP server in your company. It would be looked after by the SAP itself. So now that landscape which we have seen earlier, so now that server is no more in the company. So it has moved from the company office to somewhere else. So that is going to be the data center, where along with one company server, so SAP would be owning the SAP server for their multiple clients. So here you can just see the example. So we have the server for one company, two company, three company, four company, and so on and so forth. And all these companies server would be looking after by the SAP only. Okay. And this server are placed where? So these server, all the servers are placed in a SAP data center. So we have the cities where the data centers are located. So these data centers we can just see in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Bombay, Pune, or also in Noida, we can just see these data centers. So that is the private deployment option we have on the cloud. Now, how it is different from the public cloud? So you can just see this is the scenario we have. The first scenario you can see within the client, within the cloud. So we have the SAP data center with many servers we have here placed in the data center, and it is away from the client office or client premises. Then the second option we have, it is a public cloud. Here you can just see the public cloud. Now SAP is saying that we will be giving you this SAP server, and that SAP server on the, it will be on the public cloud, and in this public cloud they will be having a single server. Here you can just see we have the server for each of the client, but now in this landscape we'll be having SAP is giving a single server, and on that single server SAP is giving you the info access to, or it is giving these that server to their multiple clients, now. It doesn't mean that the information for one client can be accessed by the other client. So that is not going to be there, because that sanctity or the security of the data would be owned by the SAP. So SAP will be giving the assurance that there would be proper sanctity and security of the data, so it will not be accessed by anybody. So the data related to the one company would be accessed only by this company only, not by this company. But the data for all these companies are going to be placed in the single server called SAP S/4HANA Public Cloud. So why we need to go for it? Because it is cost effective. We will also see the pros and cons of this kind of deployment option if we compare it with the on-premise and private cloud. Now here there is a comparison about the deployment options. So for example, I'm a client and I'm going to install this SAP software in my company. Now I have been given these options. So which option I will go for? So based on my requirement, based on the size of company, based on the budget I have, so I will make my decision. And before I make my decision, so I can have these parameter on which I can just compare the cloud and on-premise option, deployment option. So first is the licensing model. So in the on-premise, we have the licensing model like the previous one, like the ECC one, where we are having the traditional licensing. So one time we'll be paying, or let's say on a annual basis or on a 3 year or 4 year. So we'll be buying a license from the SAP. So we'll have that CD, and we'll get, with the help of the IT team, we can get that software installed in our company within the premises. So we can start working on it. That is the kind of traditional licensing we have on the on-premise deployment option. And now in the cloud-based deployment, so we have the subscription licensing. So what is the subscription licensing? In this, on a monthly basis or quarterly or annually or semi-annually, we need to pay to the SAP. We need to the pay to the SAP for using this SAP software, or for installing this SAP software, or to work on the SAP software. Then we have the infrastructure and maintenance model. So how we can just see the infrastructure in the on-premise. So as I just shared with you, under the on-premise, so we have the software within our company. For that, we need to we need to have a dedicated room. We need to have a dedicated space. Then we need to have a dedicated team who will make sure that 24/7 there should be power. 24/7 there should be security to this server room. So that kind of infrastructure we need to build it if we go with the on-premise option. But if we go with the cloud edition, where we have seen that the servers are placed in a data center owned by the SAP, so we don't need to hire a big IT team. We don't need to have the server room. We don't need to have to spend on the power or on the security. So this kind of expenses we can just avoid if we go with the cloud option, cloud deployment option. Then we have the speed of the innovation. So here it is saying that SAP has given the full control over the innovation. So it is saying that here, if any kind of upgrade is required, so time to time, our IT team in the first scenario in the on-premise, so they will just check that, okay, so we need to upgrade, we need to migrate from one database to another database, or we need to do some kind of upgradation. So all these is to be done by the IT team, and they will just decide that, okay, on particular date, on a particular time, they will be doing this kind of data upgradation. Now it is saying that in the cloud, so that data upgrades will be done automatically by the SAP. So here, this thing in the on-premise, we expected that, okay, this upgrade we need to do it on, let's say, 4 month or 1 year. But the upgrade which we can expect in the cloud edition, so it is going to be on a quarterly basis. And this upgrade would be done by whom? So these upgrades will be done by the SAP only. Then we have the implementation approach. So it is saying that we can expect the customization in the on-premise, whereas there is scope for the customization is less on the cloud-based deployment option. So in the cloud, because the same server we need to offer to the multiple clients, SAP has to offer to the multiple clients. So that is the reason they go with the standard solution. They don't encourage the customized solution, and that is the reason. So we can't see much customization on this cloud edition. Then we have the custom code, again the same thing. So we can do the more customization on the on-premise if we compare it with the cloud edition. So we have here the more comparison. We need to just see the pros and cons, and based on that, we need to buy that server, and we need to go for the deployment option if it is going to be on-premise cloud or private cloud or public cloud. So here it is saying that if we talk about the configuration, so the configuration on the on-premise and private cloud, so it can be done on the SAP GUI. We call it as IMG, and through that IMG we can do that configuration, that development. Whereas the configuration in the public cloud is done through the Fiori application, through the Fiori platform. We do that configuration. Then the user activities we can just see on-premise and private cloud edition. So we can expect it in the SAP GUI as well as in the Fiori. Whereas if we are working on the SAP public cloud, so all these end user activities are to be performed only on the Fiori. Then the configuration support is given by SAP only for the SAP public cloud. Then the database is going to be same for any of the deployment option we will go for. Then the shared server, as I just shared with you, that here on the on-premise, we are not sharing a server with anybody. And the same is the case on the private cloud, whereas on the public cloud, we'll be sharing the server with our competition, with our other business players. Then this server setup or this server, I would say maintenance would be done under the on-premise, would be done by the client IT team. Whereas in the case of cloud edition, it is to be done by the SAP. So this server setup will be done or build will be performed by the SAP. Then the server we will be buying in the case of on-premise from this IBM, HP, Dell. And after buying that server, we can install that CD and we can start working on the SAP. Whereas under the cloud edition, particularly private cloud, so we'll be buying the hosting rights or access. And for that, we'll go for the AWS, Google, Azure. Whereas in the public cloud, so we'll be using this Cloud 4C. Then if we talk about the upgrades uptime, so in the case of on-premise, so we have to actually it is to be looked after by the IT team owned by the client and or hired by the client. Whereas in the case of upgrades, uptime, backup responsibility would be with the SAP only if we go for the cloud edition. So this is the comparison we have about the on-premise and cloud.